Let's get you up to date now on the latest that's going on, not only on the floor, but also over here in the pits as well, with September corn right now on the side of higher. Only a quarter of a penny, though, 354.5. December down a half at 366.5. Not much movement here. September soybeans up 4.5 at 836.5. November up 5.5 at 849.5. September Chicago wheat up 12.25 at 498.5. July Chicago wheat up 9.25 at 552. September Kansas City wheat 10.5 higher, 499, and that is on the high of the day. July up 8.5 at 556.75. September Minneapolis wheat is up 4.5 at 559.75, and July up 5 at 608. Let's find out what's going on in the cotton market here at this midpoint. December cotton up 146 at 83.45. Now let's find out what the mood is on the trading floor itself as we go there live and direct to the CME Group in Chicago. Scott Gecas, Longleaf Trading, standing by. Scott, what is the mood there today? We've got a couple of big reports coming up this week. I say big, but important reports probably is a more better term this week, at least for the grain market.
Yeah, everyone's going to be focusing on that report coming out on Wednesday. It's pretty slow across the board right now. You're seeing a little bit of a bump up in soybean prices. That could be just due to the reports of frost in China over the weekend. So that is lending a little bit of support to the soybean market overall. But all in all, it's a pretty quiet day going into the reports later this week.
How significant is this 370 level over here in the corn market?
For us, that we've been eyeing that 370 level for quite some time. I think that if we could stay above it, you're going to see some fresh buying coming in. But that is definitely a very key level. If we see that break, you're going to see a big spike in volume as well as a big spike in volatility to the downside.
All right, same thing, the same kind of question then, only for 850 in soybeans. What are your thoughts there? Yeah,
850 it's a key level. Pretty much the same setup as the corn market. Below it, you're going to see a big spike in fresh selling, a spike in volatility. We're going to see how that's really going to play out moving forward. You're still running into very big supply concerns here in the U.S. That the supply is a surplus with China versus U.S. You know, it widened to about 31 million tons versus 28 in July. That's definitely a significant key area that we're keeping an eye on that 370 level.
The export inspection numbers were out a little bit earlier, and they were a little bit weaker for corn, but all the other commodities were a little bit stronger. Do you think that that could add any positive tone to this market going into the WASDE?
Yeah, I definitely think that. That's another reason for the little bump up here in soybeans. Chinese imports were up about 14% versus just for August. So that's definitely a significant aspect as well.
All right. Scott, hang on here with us. When we come back, I want to talk about the livestock market. Let's get right to that. So stay with us right here on the Market Day Report. All right, let's get started in the live cattle pit as we do each and every time. We see here in the live cattle on the front month contract, we've been higher since the open. But, boy, I tell you what, we're getting closer to unchanged. But I can say that all of these contracts, these front five contracts, are on the higher side. October up 10, 110.05. December up 6, 114.48. February up 17 at 118.42. And April and June both on the higher side as well. Now, over in the feeder cattle market, this is a market that is, well, it's been kind of steady as she goes here, about the same way it was at the open, with September feeder cattle down 33, 152.65. October down a half a dollar, 50 cents, 152.45 a hundredweight. November down 12 at 152.60. But January and March are both higher by 17 and 20 cents respectively. October hogs up $1.15 at 56.80. December up 40 at 57.20. February up 20 at 64.92. Let's go back to the edge of the trading floor where Scott Gecas is here with us. Scott, last week cash cattle kind of steady. Here at the midday, we saw that the beef cutouts just kind of mixed, but we're starting to close the gap between choice and select. And then when you step back and you look at the futures from a chart perspective, particularly if you get to looking there in that live cattle, that front month live cattle chart, Is there still room to grow here, do you think, a little bit, or you think that we could just kind of get into a range and trade sideways here until we have more of a grip on what demand is?
Yeah, I think we're going to consolidate around this 110 level. That's a key support level, key resistance level. I think it's just going to waffle back and forth until we get any significant direction. We're still running into supply concerns. Well, we saw cash cattle trade around 107. That's driving the market a little bit of sideways, not really one direction or the other. Cumulative sales were up about 20% versus this time last year, so that is a little bit of a bump in price. But we are going to keep an eye on that 110 level.
You know, last time around I was talking about the exports over here, and this would have been the export report from last Thursday, or Friday, excuse me. But the exports still seem to remain pretty strong here.
Yeah, the exports, last week they were about 24,000 tons versus a four-week average of about 19%. So you're still seeing that little bit of a growth aspect. So it is supporting price. We're just going to see how everything plays out in the next few days here.
What are you hearing about the hog complex today there on the floor?
Yeah, the hog complex, it's a very weird dynamic because with this whole African swine flu, they're not being able to contain it. We saw reports over the weekend that there was a case reported in Japan. That was the first time Japan has ever had a report like that in over 26 years. So they can't contain it. It is spreading. We're just going to really see how this is really going to play out. Right. The exports with the cumulative sales were up about 6% versus last year, so we're still going to remain bullish above that 55 level.
Still waiting to hear also what could happen with trade as well over here in that pork complex.
Yeah, it's all going to be coming out to, how is China going to react? Are they going to contain it? Remember that if it does hit that 16% level of Chinese herd, that's equivalent to the total global trade output of pork just all of last year.
Wow.
That's a very significant level. That's just very significant information. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see exporters put together a major export campaign.
Wow. Okay. Scott, thank you very much. Scott Gecas there at the edge of the trading floor in Chicago. And Scott is with Longleaf Trading.